Tea time. Welcome everybody to another episode of Souldin's completely sound and professional medical advice. Today's tea for great health is lemon, ginger and Manuka honey tea. It's great for those suffering with hay fever, such as myself in these recent days. It's mainly thanks to the honey part of the tea. Okay, yeah, in all seriousness, lemon, ginger, Manuka honey tea from the Pucker brand. This tea has basically been getting me through the days of late because the pollen count has spiked in the UK along with a great amount of heat wave that's come through. Luckily, the pollen has started to come down, although the temperature is not. Luckily, I'm not affected by the temperature so much, but pollen is where I'm really affected. But the pollen was mostly coming from the grass, and it's gone so hot that most of the grass is now actually dead. In any case, yeah, like I said, we're having a lemon, ginger and Manuka honey tea. Honey tea always helps with hay fever, so I've been having a lot of these in the morning and even taking them to work in my thermos. A welcoming cup of spicy sweet organic bliss. Let's see, anything else? This is a moment of bliss, a veritable hug to keep your spirits warm. Take your seat and settle in to savour the spicy sweet zest of sun-ripe lemons and slow-dried ginger root with fair wild elderflowers. Then, as your heart begins to sing, comes the velvet kiss of Manuka honey. So yeah, that's the lemon, ginger and Manuka honey tea. I've already had it before, but I kind of wanted to promote it a little bit on the basis of, for those suffering with hay fever, a honey tea is just perfect. There was actually a different honey tea I was having before this, but I'd run out of it. It was a chamomile one. It had Manuka honey in it as well, but it was a chamomile tea. No lemon, no ginger, but it was a chamomile vanilla and Manuka honey tea. But I ran out of that. But I at least wanted to promote the lemon, ginger and Manuka honey tea. Also have a bit of a sore throat at the moment. Well, slightly sore throat at the moment, so I'm not sure if that little Nanka intro section worked as well as I was hoping for, but hopefully it did. I do like throwing in the occasional Souldin's completely sound and professional medical advice. In any case, as for today's tea time, it's actually one I've been wanting to talk about for a while because I've been thinking about it. It's been on my mind. And it's one that has a big impact in my purchasing habits to a degree, and I kind of like having people, given this is a gaming channel, keeping people informed of my purchasing habits for future games, because those games may end up on the channel at some point, and often will be a discussion point. And so what games I'm planning on purchasing each year I feel is worth talking about. For those who have been watching my videos, the Grin Brothers videos and some of the tea times, I may have mentioned in the past that I'm trying to stick to a 12 games per year limit. There are also various other rules that may take place in future. One of them on the basis of what we're going to be talking about today. For today's tea time is called Online on the Line. And I gotta say, I absolutely adore the name I came up with. It was one that really came to me really easily. And it's a tea time concerning online gaming, or as noted from on the line part, the potential lack of it. For me, at least. You see, I had Xbox Gold, but that has ran out as of June. And soon the Nintendo Switch is going to become a paid online service this September. So, with my Xbox Live Gold having run out, and having found out how much it actually costs people to buy it around Christmas time, it's about 40 quid around Christmas time. For some countries, actually a tad more. I think in America it's like 60. And in the case of Nintendo, well, that is starting to come online as well. It's a fairly cheaper price, but it's Nintendo's online service, which isn't quite as stable as Microsoft's, and it's kind of unproven ground really. And so it's really come to a point where I'm at this interesting transition period where I've got to decide, do I want online? Do I need it? Obviously I need online for my the computer stuff and the uploads and all that, but do I need it for gaming? And the thing is, it's hard to justify the price, because online gaming costs an awful lot. And particularly when you've been spoiled, given that I mainly use Nintendo systems, where my online gaming experience was free. Not amazing experiences, but they were free. And I'm also very considerate when it comes to my Christmas and birthday list. I don't like putting expensive things. Video games at about 55 quid at most tend to be the most expensive things I ever really put on my birthday and Christmas lists. I prefer having lots of small presents that I get to have the joys of opening, and lots of, hey, just buy me something you think I'll like but haven't necessarily, surprise me sort of thing. I like those sort of things, and I don't like people sort of all chipping in to buy one big present or money. I hate getting money on my birthday or Christmas. Just if you're gonna thinking giving me money, it's always surprise me instead. Um, but it's a lot of money sort of spending on the online thing, and particularly when I have to take into account it might not always be a case where I can get the online via my birthday or Christmas. And at that point, I've got to take into account I'm 25 now. I've got to take into account how eventually I hope to have a full-time job at some point, which I'll be attempting to balance the Grin Brothers channel along with that. So, hey, that's going to be fun. And, eventually there'll be sort of either a rented accommodation or a house or something like that. And you got to really start budgeting things, starting to take into consideration what you can and cannot afford. And online seems like a bit of an excess. Like, there are benefits to obviously the online gaming, and I've had fun with online gaming before. Pokken Tournament, I've absolutely adored playing online. I actually, for a while, wanted to try playing online a lot thanks to Sunset Overdrive. I had one small experience in Sunset Overdrive, and it was a magical online experience. That really got me interested in the idea of trying more online stuff. I also did online, of course, and this is a big one, Splatoon. Splatoon on the Wii U, I did a lot of online on that, because it's an online-focused game. But on that basis, as I was saying, about the possibility of not keeping the online because of the payment that has to come with it, and at that, it's not a payment there and done thing, it's a yearly payment. One thing to really take into consideration is it narrows some of my game choices. Like, obviously, Splatoon 2, sadly, when I have to take into consideration whether I have online or not, they're not worth getting unless you've got online, and that's a real bummer of a game. Likewise, Dragon Ball Fighters and quite a few fighting games nowadays are so centered on the online aspect, really sort of prioritizing that over anything else. It's usually the main thing you get thrusted towards, that first sort of thing in the center stage, or, the first sort of big menu. And it's the main thing that they kind of build a lot of the game around in terms of the updates and all that. And for me, that doesn't really work. I like my single-player experiences. I do like being able to share my experience with others, but that was in the days of Miiverse, and that isn't around. But otherwise, I share my experiences through recording. It's not the online aspect that I really need to share my experiences with. And there's also the hassle that, I live in a village. We've not got great connection here. For a long while, the Nintendo Switch's online basically was useless in the game room. And so, I had to play ARMS in the front room. There was an ARMS demo. I had to play it in the front room on, a coffee table, sort of set up in, the corner. And it was in the standard mode trying to play it. That was awkward as heck. But that was the situation I was forced into. Because, again, village online connection. And it was actually that experience which made me decide not to get ARMS because it's so heavily focused on online, and ARMS, and at the time the Nintendo Switch's online wasn't going to work for me because of the Nintendo Switch's online wasn't good enough at that stage in time. It's been improved, but it's also, again, it still leaves me in that case of, is it worth getting the online? There are games I want to play online, games I'm interested in playing online. On the Xbox One, I've had a lot of fun with Fable Fortune, and I'd like to get back into that and start playing in that online regularly if I did keep Xbox Live online. There's also Dead or Alive 6 coming out, and that's a game, Dead or Alive 5 is a game that I really enjoyed, and it's one that made me think I'd like to get really good at this. Not just good, but I'd like to get really good at it. Not let's go and win tournaments sort of thing, but maybe even participate in, just some nice casual ones sort of here and there sort of thing, play against people online like I do with Pokken Tournament. Pokken Tournament, had a ton of fun playing online. Didn't do too many matches. I think I did about around 50 at most, but I won the majority of them. I think I lost 4. But yeah, I had a ton of fun going online with Chandelure and Pokken Tournament. And, there are bad sides to it. It's very stressful playing online. People are a lot harder to deal with. Even when you're winning a match, you always have to keep on your toes a lot more with the CPU. A CPU will make silly mistakes without any cause or reason. A human player will make silly mistakes, but there's always a reason as to why they make the silly mistake. You have to really be on your edge. And sometimes they're trying to trick you with a silly mistake, And I'd agree from that, and I could potentially think, oh, well, I've got Pokken Tournament DX, I should focus on the online that. And likewise, I've got Splatoon 2, maybe focus on getting more into that, even though I'm not quite as excited for it. Splatoon 2, having played it, it's not quite as gripping as Splatoon 1, but I digress. if I were to decide to not get online, I'd then have to take into consideration any future game purchase as, okay, is there enough content outside of the online? This kind of helps narrow down the choices, and I feel it's kind of a good, strong aspect, because there will be points in time where I decide not to get online for a while, in which case some games will be effectively redundant until I get the online. And having online gaming doesn't affect some of the more important features that I feel. For instance, if it affected my ability to download games or DLC, even though I'm not a big fan of downloads or DLC, there's something I do on occasion. But having online for gaming doesn't get in the way of that. The online gaming aspects are usually very specific. I've listed a few of them down here. With Xbox Live, you've got online. Both of them, of course, provide online playing. But with Xbox Live, they also provide games with golds and deals with golds, which allow you to get special extras, sort of free games sent to you via games with gold, and choose which ones you want to download. There's also Xbox Live Pies and such. Lots of little neat features and that. And with Nintendo Switch, instead of games with gold with a general broader audience, instead you get to download NES games whenever you want and play them for free, sort of thing. Part of the package of the Nintendo Switch Online. They also include save data clouds and to give you backup files for your saved data. Not something that I'm too interested in, but hey, it's a cool sort of feature to have promoted with the online. But it's not enough to pull me in. Really, what really will pull me in is if there's a game that I want to play online. With Xbox One at the moment, it is Fable Fortune and Dead or Alive 6 on the horizon, which made me think I want to play these online. And alternatively, with Nintendo Switch, Pokken Tournament DX already currently has my interest, and I'm sure there'll be future games which I'll think, you know what, this would be a great experience online. I'd like to experience this online, and I feel it would really flesh it out. But I think it really is worth considering the days of a non-online in terms of game consideration, in looking at the games on the perspective, okay, if I decide not to have online, would this game still be worth getting? Which unfortunately in the case of, say, Splatoon 2, which I got as a Christmas present, without online, it's not worth getting. Which is a real shame, but it's the truth, really. It is too built on its online multiplayer. It's an absolutely great and fun game to play, but it's even with its single-player mode, it tends to be a tad short, and its multiplayer is where it truly thrives. As said, online, is a very strange experience. It's a very stressful experience. I'm always feeling my need to breathe after every online match. But there's also a lot of fun to it, and it really does provide a nice bit of fresh air. Particularly aside from my close family members, and Rafi in particular, there's not usually many people I get to have multiplayer games with. So online does provide that as a backup, even though, of course, sofa multiplayer. Couch co-op does work better as a term, but in the UK we call it sofas or settees. So sofa co-op is a far better experience than, of course, any online. But sometimes you can't always get to do that. Guess my last point. Actually, hold on, I've kind of forgot what my last point was. I'm gonna try some of my lemon ginger and Manuka honey tea whilst I wait to think of what I was going to say. I really like this tea. I'm actually quite a big fan of ginger teas. Ginger is actually a really nice flavour, unless you let my oldest brother Kiros make it, in which case he basically dumps ginger into an already made ginger tea. Oh gosh, he does it overboard with everything. But ginger has a nice spice to it, nice good kick to it. The lemon is a nice little taste on the tip of the tongue. The ginger is the thing that remains throughout. The Manuka, the honey part of the tea often gives a little bit of a sort of smoothness to everything, and the honey is what really helps out. But it's nice. It's lemon and ginger adds a lot of flavour to the honey tea. It's a little bit bland if it would just be a honey tea on its own. It's I guess spicy is how you describe ginger. It'd be the most accurate term, I feel. It's a spicy alternative to the chamomile and vanilla Manuka honey tea, which I've mentioned previously, but which I've yet to have on a tea time. In which case, the other tea is more of a sweet variant. This is definitely more of a spice variant with a nice kick to it. Definitely bursting with flavour. Now, trying to remember what I was actually going to say as my last point. What was it? Online. That was it. When I was thinking about the online gaming thing, at the moment, I gotta say I'm currently swinging towards not having either Nintendo Switch Online or Xbox Live Gold Online. I'm potentially considering having them as Christmas presents to keep that sort of online gaming up, but I don't want to kind of feel reliant on it, because otherwise I'll be putting on as a Christmas or birthday present every year. At the same time, though, I'm actually kind of running out of ideas for Christmas and birthday presents which aren't expensive. I've kind of started to get everything I need, which is a very nice thing to say, but it means that the only things left are like the really expensive stuff I don't want other people buying. You know, I'd rather save up for that for myself. And but the one thing I was thinking about is, what would be the convincing argument to getting one of them? Well, as I said, games is the main one, if there's games which interest me in playing online. Currently, Xbox Live does have the foot up. Dead or Alive 6 is coming out. And if I really enjoy Dead or Alive 6 and become a really sort of focus on it, as I did with Dead or Alive 5 last round, I may decide, you know what, I'm going to plunge it. I want to fight people online. Much like I wanted to fight people online in Pokken Tournament and took the plunge quite often on that on the Wii U. You know, on the Switch at the moment, it's a bit of a lesser thing because it's just Pokken Tournament is the real big driving factor. I mean, I like Super Bomberman R, but I haven't played too much of it online. Pokken Tournament on the Wii, I did a lot of online, and I would like to go online with Chandelure again for Pokken Tournament DX, have a few rounds. I've done one or two matches, I think, but nothing huge. Maybe even try taking some of the other Pokemon they're releasing as DLC that will be fun to play as. I've enjoyed playing as Blastoise. Blastoise is fun. But then I thought, well, the one thing that would convince me of the Nintendo Switch's online is a feature the Wii U had, which sadly is no more. If the Nintendo Switch Online was like, hey, this is how you get Miiverse, I would immediately have the Nintendo Switch Online, no doubt. Like, or if Xbox had their own equivalent of Miiverse, they have kind of something similar to it, but it's not as well done. Miiverse is still my favourite social site that has ever been made. I'm not usually a fan of social sites, but Miiverse was kind of perfect in my opinion. I mean, there was things that could be fixed by it, but in the execution of the concept was done really well. There was ways that needed to be improved. Admins were a bit too tight, but I liked the gaming focus sort of thing and how easily it sort of streamed together with the Wii U in tandem. And if like Miiverse was like an exclusive thing through the Nintendo Switch Online, then yeah, I would immediately drop down 18 quid a year for the Nintendo Switch Online. There would be no question of that. But without, I highly doubt the Miiverse thing is going to be a thing. So what it comes down to is games. Are there going to be games that convince me to go online? At this stage in time, I am not convinced. But then again, I haven't played Dead or Alive 6 yet. That may convince me. And Nintendo may release more games in the future. However, as noted, I think the main thing to take away from this is I'm going to start putting as lower priorities games which are heavily dependent on online. I never even really take into consideration, say, MMOs or anything like that. They're not my sort of thing. But a game that sort of relying on online for a lot of its modes, or its core focus is on its online, with a single player and multiplayer more being extras to it, that's probably not going to be the way I go with gaming from now on. I'm going to think of my purchases in terms of how good are they if I ever lost online, because I may not always have it, even if I do decide to get it. You know. So that's my thoughts. What do you all think about online gaming? Is it something that you're a real big fan of? Is it something you do often? Is it something you're willing to pay for on the various consoles? Nintendo Switch is going to go online, paid online in September. So what are your thoughts on that? Do you think it's a good deal they're offering here? I mean, the prices are a lot cheaper than everyone else's, but you know, it's also Nintendo's online, which isn't as up to par as the others. What do you think of Xbox Live's online? I've never really used it because don't own the PS4, but what do you think of PSN as well, I guess? What do you think of the online gaming scene currently? Is basically sums up all three of those questions, really. Love to hear your thoughts, and cheerio, everyone!